On a very pleasant Thursday afternoon by Powderhorn Park, I'm excited to be joined by my friend Tyler, Tyler Nelson, aka aYm.
Hey.
And this is right before a really exciting series of releases, weekly releases of 20 songs, which collectively are 4 EPs.
Yeah.
So the project is called Hues.
Hues.
And the four different collections of songs. So each one has five songs. In it?
5 songs. Correct.
And each one has quite a different feel.
Yeah.
So when are these songs going to be available to begin with? And what's the rationale between grouping them into these 4 sets of 5?
So the first part, they're going to be available starting in May.
Okay.
So
beginning of May.
Yep. Beginning of May is going to be the first song is going to come out, and then it'll be a weekly release on that same day. For 20 weeks. So for however long that lasts. So kind of not thinking about them in months, but just kind of thinking about them week by week.
Yeah.
Here's something to indulge on. And then as for how all 4 of them kind of compartmentalize themselves, I guess it was just kind of a beautiful process. It was, I moved into an artist loft, the Northern Warehouse in St. Paul, right in Lower Town. Shout out Lower Town, shout out, everyone down there. It's been home since I moved in. And
when was that? When did you move?
Last April. April 1st of 2016. So I'm coming up on a year there. Yeah. And I really just spent a lot of 2016. I put out the first aYm record in December of 2015. I would have liked to, retrospectively, I would have liked to have had a busier 2016, booked more shows. I would have liked to, had a little more idea of a plan after I put out the project, because I did play some shows, but it was just kind of, a little more loose than I would have liked. So I spent,
We played a show together at the Reverie, before the Reverie was Reverie.
Yeah, was it the Nicolette?
The Nicolette.
Yeah, the Nicolette. So I mean, like, after the first aYm project, I kind of was just in a space where I was making a big change, moving from the suburb up to the cities again. I spent my time in college at St. Thomas, so I love St. Paul. I spent a lot of time in St. Paul before I eventually moved up into Lower Town. Had buddies like Dem Atlas and Bloomer, both living together in the Tilsner, which is right south of the building I live in now. So I love the area.
Yeah, Dem Atlas is on one of these tracks.
Yes,
one of the 20 tracks.
Yep, he will be. It's just coming up here and getting in that space, getting in my new loft. It was just so inspiring. And when I moved in April, I was just kind of spending time indulging in the inspiration that I was feeling, and that kind of came out in a way of just making a lot of music. And I had the pleasure of finding some great producers along this journey of this past year. And all throughout the time, kind of the beauty of the Hues project is that it morphed a few times. Like, I had an idea of what the Hues project was going to be at one point.
You always knew it was going to be the Hues project? So
I knew that Hues was like something in my mind that was enticing to me. Hues, the idea of how we see life in different tints, when we're happy, when we're sad, when we're in jest, when we're indulged, whatever. So I wanted to kind of, I definitely wanted to, showcase that whole aspect and prospect through sound. And it became more clear over time that through patience, it defined itself even more.
Patience is a key concept in Hues.
Yep, patience is a key concept.
Yeah.
Because Hues at one point was only 8 songs. It was every other song was a feature. And I think EJ is probably like the only one who like knew of the structure of it at that point, because I just was kind of pitching it to him, seeing what he thought, because every other song was a feature, and then every other song was a single or just a solo song. So it was kind of different take. But then throughout this year of creating and finding, coming along, Easy Key, a great producer who produced the first 5 songs, and coming along with some of these other great producers who make up, the second, third EPs as well in production. Like, I wasn't really thinking so much about, all right, I wasn't thinking so much about the final destination as much as I was enjoying the process, because I think that's something I've tried to teach myself and have seen to be a truth over time, is that when you get too far ahead and get too focused on what the finish is, you can't enjoy the process, but the process while it's happening isn't as thorough and genuine.
Yeah.
So when I spent this whole summer and fall, making these songs, and early winter, I guess, up till now, until I formulated this whole project about a month and a half ago, early January, is when I started having this vision of all these EPs, is because I made so much music. I just spent so much of last year making songs, and then all of a sudden these EPs just kind of categorize themselves.
Yeah.
I realized, I have 5 songs that Easy Key produced. I have 5 songs that kind of fit in this lush down-tempo R&B category.
That's EP2.
I have 5 songs that are all features. And then
EP3.
And then I have all 5 songs that are produced by me.
Yeah.
So they all just kind of fit into this beautiful
pattern.
Yeah. Just kind of fit into this frame of art that made sense. And then I was able to pitch the idea to my roommate Annika for the visuals, and she just blew it out of the ballpark in terms of the results. She made 4 10-inch by 10-inch canvases.
Yep.
That all are, her.
Here they are materializing, so visual aids, you can see them.
Yeah.
They're just there.
yeah, absolutely. It's the way that she's my roommate. She's been there listening to these songs, infusing herself with these songs, just
she's
like
imbued in them. Yeah.
So she, she has shown a lot of appreciation in being able to collaborate on this as well, because it's something that for me seemed so genuine coming from her. Yeah. To make this art and to make these 4 different 10-inch by 10-inch squares that all embody.
I want Tyler that might happen.
Yeah, you did give me the warning. Yeah. So to have her embody, all of these songs in 4 different paintings.
What's the medium?
The medium's acrylic paint.
Acrylic paints.
Yep, acrylic paints. Yep.
So right now, we are now behind the hue and a red, orange, yellow hue, and the reason why we're suddenly we have that hue having come over us is because those are the colors. This is the artwork that goes with EP number 1.
Correct.
So what is it about EP number 1, which is the one where all the tracks are produced by Easy Key?
Correct.
What is it that suggests these colors or these hues to you and to Annika?
For me, it was really my idea of putting these color associations to the certain projects. Yeah. So having her take it and run with it was just a secondary beauty, or I guess just a beauty in general, just to see that come to fruition. But for me, the colors, the red, orange, yellow, the more fiery colors, the more poignant colors, the more sharp colors, they all kind of match some of the sounds and the contents you'll hear in the Easy Key project. I would say the Easy Key project on the whole has the most rap.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Has a little more, political reference. Obviously, it's the first. It has some red, for the all the crazy stuff going on.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's a little more just sharp edge to the first project. It has a little more. It just kind of sits on a knife blade a little more in terms of the verses, and I wanted it to be like that. I wanted one of the projects to kind of have that feel to it.
A sense of urgency.
It's kind of like, a little bit of wake up. The first song's called In My Dreams, and it's just kind of a scatterbrain kind of song of different ideas and different thoughts I have. Yeah. The opening lyric to the record, the opening lyric to
Hues, the 20 songs, and In My Dreams, the song, is why do you continue to say what's never on your mind until you walk away? Which is, I think, a really intriguing lyric. It's not immediately obvious what that scenario is there. So, as a way into the record, what's going on there? Are you addressing yourself or someone else? And how does that line set the tone?
I'm kind of addressing just like all the phoniness and the bullshit that a lot of what we've seen, particularly politically, but even before all this stuff came to fruition, even before that, just when I was writing that song back in fall, probably is when I got the easy key beats. I would say it was more so just about, in general, about people who I felt like who were acting disingenuously. And for me, it was just like, I just get confused when people put on a facade and act in a way that is outside themselves.
Yep.
And especially when you can see it, especially when you can see how they either treat you differently than somebody else or how they treat somebody else differently than you. And you can see it, either you're being benefited or you're being, at a detriment. Or
even
whatever.
if you're the favored one, the artificiality.
It still bugs me.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
It still bugs those who are acutely aware to it.
Yes.
Because it's not a genuine personality that someone's portraying. So,
yeah.
And then going into the verse, it's like you meant it when you said it. But when I asked the Reverend, he said that shit you stepped in was moving its way towards your head. So just that idea of like, just like bullshit being infused inside of how someone acts, and then it just becomes part of their normal, part of their default.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any other way to think. They haven't had anyone else to challenge their thoughts. They don't have the openness to be challenged. So it's just kind of a...
So in lieu of a cultivated character and like integrity and an actual, developed, substantial character, that's what we end up with. And shortly after that, like just a little bit further into the song, there's a reference to Poseidon, which is like this. I love the range of references, and we'll find some nice kind of juxtapositions, or like a couple of songs in. But slow-mo, like the whole world moves with Poseidon.
Yeah, in slow-mo, it's like the whole globe moves with Poseidon.
Yeah. So what's going on there?
It's just kind of like taking that idea of a singularity, of that idea of seeing it in one person, kind of acting outside of it's kind of, and then like spinning it into like a mass ideation of like the whole globe, kind of feeling this way, and like it kind of is a scary thought with just how much lack of truth is being spread and
alternative
to,
facts and all of that nonsense.
The alt facts. I mean, for real though, and it's just like it's scary what's being perpetuated.
As that becomes the norm. Or a standard. Yeah. So who is Poseidon? Poseidon obviously is in mythology.
It's just kind of it's just a reference to just like the evil and the danger and the darkness of matching that reference to just to the potential of this ideation if it slips down the slope, at the rate it's going. But at the same token, there's millions of people and a bunch of people that I love who are combating that with a lot of love and a lot of goodness and a lot of talent and their arts and their voice and their work in the community. So, and
that even in this opening song, that's what development we experience. So, and also I think even in the first 10-inch by 10-inch canvas by Annika. By Annika. We have, red, and it is a bit more fiery and it is a bit more kind of alarming perhaps. But at the same time, there's a warmth to it, which I think picks up on what you're saying about love and art and community. And again, within the song, there's a direct reference to Trump, raining down like tweets of hate
by Senior Trump,
from Senior Trump, whose master plan is to divide, but you would rather spend some time with those inclined to find some peace. And then you rap about joining the convo. So it's interesting. This is Minneapolis Music Conversation. Back to the city, Minneapolis Music Conversation. It's really important to... Conversation is crucial. I was talking with Seymour Perspective. We had a whole episode about... He's wonderful. And he has... we recognize that conversation was a theme that kept on coming up in his art, because Sex Tape, a conversation with Prince, and
great project.
it really is. And then there's a frank and honest conversation about race with Guante and Catraque on the brilliantly titled Post Race record too. So what is? It's almost like, back to In My Dreams, it's almost like that is a mission statement or a manifesto. Do either of those terms seem
I
to
suppose
fit for you?
I haven't really thought about it like that, or kind of like a thesis.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. And like I said, within My Dreams, it's kind of funny the irony that I give it that characterization, because it's very real. You know, like a lot of what I'm saying is like very tangible in the world, but it's, you know, I'm like trying to make it part of my dreams because that's how I'd like it to be, but it's not. It's very much so what we're all dealing with right now. So
there's a lot going on in that song. So it sets the scene, it sets a tone, it sets the scene, it highlights what there is to be concerned about, but then there is this shift, and the words love and hate are both like it's right back to back. I think you say love raining down like tweets of hate. Is that right? Or
let me think.
It's almost like
I'll go. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. In ad court, I do endorse what I need more of. Fast forward to endorphins, keeping me straight up. Find a flow inside a mold of growth to seek the love. Raining down like tweets of hate by Senior Trump.
It's like a pivot.
Yeah.
We have love and hate. And it's interesting that love is on like the earlier side of the pivot, and then we have Trump and hate and those tweets. But then we come out with the community, and you don't want to be alone as well. Even that works its way into this song. I'm paraphrasing it, but you're saying right before you say you need to be involved in the convo, you're saying it's not, you're not going to stay in your spot. As homely and as good for you as an artist, your artist loft is, you're not going to like stay within your four walls. You need to get out and engage in this scary, transforming reality.
Right. No, absolutely.
So how much does that introduce themes and a philosophy that which other songs in the project does fit most with the themes and the ethos that we've been establishing through that first song? Is it refined in other songs?
I would like to think some of those themes are kind of sprinkled in throughout. That's kind of what I wanted to embody with Annika's art as well. If you'll notice with her stuff that even though one of the EP covers might have, be based with certain colors, there's little blotches of other colors.
Yeah.
So like there's little touches of, every color in each one of the EPs to kind of signify that idea of themes trailing into other ones.
Yeah.
But for me, I would say like, that the Easy Key project just has kind of the most like commentary and the most, in terms of like, that whole premise of particularly like political, but in terms of like love and hate, I think that those themes are kind of made, throughout, especially the EP2, the kind of more down-tempo one, being more down tempo, a lot more singing for me, a lot more melody and harmony based in that project.
Right, so we're talking about like pivots, or at the center of that one we have Default Shape, which is a track that you've already put out on SoundCloud just as a standalone single.
Yeah, that one came out in January. Yep.
And that one, it's interesting from its pink-hued, more kind of comfortable, loving
pink, purple, lush,
in EP2. It is still speaking to the concerning reality established at the beginning of EP1. And there is can you talk about your rationale for releasing that particular song when you did it at the beginning of this year? Because that relates to what we're discussing.
Yeah, because the chorus in Default Shape is, say it if you mean it and you want it, believe it, think it's something that the world needs now.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just a pure message. It's right around the inauguration, so it was just like, I feel like there was a lot of disjointed feelings and people in concern, and and rightfully so. And
of course.
So for me, it was just a calling to just kind of get back to pure mind, pure thinking, pure thoughts, saying things that are genuine to your heart, and letting that be the medication that kind of gets us back grounded and helping each other and feeling out, the right steps forward in all this mess.
Yeah. Even as the whole world seems to move, the globe seems to move like Poseidon, within that confusing, distorting context, there's this voice reminding us of the ability to do self-reflection and to remain aware of the non-complicated principles and sense of what's right and what's true. So that seems to be a common thread as well.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting, the kind of self-reflection that's going, the theme of self-reflection, seeking equilibrium and symmetry through the virtue of, in particular, patience, but other virtues too. It's interesting how that narrative develops through the 4 EPs, especially within the clearly established political context. So could you talk a little bit about the relationship between those two components, the individual seeking equilibrium, because these are all words that are used in different tracks, seeking equilibrium, looking for a kind of symmetry and stability in the context that you've characterized.
So for me, finding that, I think for me the stuff that's more finding equilibrium within myself is just kind of the journey that we're all on. The constant monologue that we all have in our head. Or
dialogue even between different components of ourselves.
Whether it's like something, dialogue or monologue, whatever, in terms of like if you're actually talking to yourself or just like in your head thinking these things to yourself. Lately I've been so aware of all the aspects of my life that create my mindset, create my inspiration level, create my body, what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, how I'm taking care of my body, what I'm listening to, what I'm seeing. All these things kind of infuse who you are and where you're at right now. And for
being
me,
lucky enough to be in the loft, for example.
Exactly.
That has you're aware of the privilege of that being the context.
I'm privileged to be in that loft. I'm very lucky and fortunate to work at the 2 serving jobs I have that allow me the financial state to create this art and let this be my passion. I'm fortunate to have friends who love me and care about me and family who love me and care about me and give me wisdom to help me guide my compass. So all these factors kind of play into the little more personal songs on the project, like Mirrors, like Talk to Me. There's a little more. There's some of those songs kind of tip on that balancing point of understanding self, so that I can understand the world. And kind of continuing that balance, because if you get too indulged with one, it distorts the other. And so for me, I think that those two themes are important to kind of balance, the commentary on what I'm saying versus like, is it pure within myself? Am I still having a good, clear conversation with myself so that I can actually make this conversation clear when I'm talking with someone outside of me? So it's more, it's very, I would almost kind of call it like, is it like more personal or is it more outward? Because I think those are kind of the different tonalities that I have in the project. They kind of make up the different songs. And some songs embody both of them, but and some embody kind of more one than the other. But that's kind of the relationship between those. So I'm glad that that's at least coming across in the start. Because I want that to be something that's apparent.
You said clarity just then, needing to have clarity with and about yourself. And clear is a word which comes up a bunch. So you mentioned Mirrors as well. So I'm going to quote from Mirrors. But Mirrors isn't the only song where the idea of clarity and specifically the word clear seems really crucial. So I'm always terrified when you're gone for so long is how Mirrors begins. And Mirrors is the first track setting the tone for EP2. Cue the purple pink cue. I've heard it that we each need time for us to grow and truly know. So when will you know? So it's interesting, this recognition, precisely in lines with what you were saying a moment ago, the need to focus on the self to be able, and some of this happens in isolation, to then be able to engage in the way that one would like to with the world at large or with someone else in a relationship, say. And or even oneself. But you have to have this equilibrium and this time alone to work on oneself to have it with anyone else. And that's the issue in the globe becoming like Poseidon, like that image that you have right at the beginning of the record. That's what happens when one doesn't have this, and one is even unaware, perhaps, that one is walking around with what one trod in.
Baggage.
Coming into one's head. So clarity comes in when there's a lyric about reflections of our time so clear. So that's a reference to clarity in the song Mirrors, and we have reflections, obviously. And
memories.
then so clarity about those memories, and then there's a reference to, I can't remember which other song it is, and then will that adjective apply to
35W
water?
Yep.
So what's going on with the use of clarity in each of these cases? We've already established that you're kind of speaking from a position of clarity, hard won through lots of self-reflection in default shape, and then you're kind of reminding us of the possibility of clarity even in these confusing times. Then we have clear water, unclear water, clear reflections, the possibility of having a distorted perception, I think, of our past, certainly the past of like a relationship. What's going on with these ideas of clarity and distortion?
Well, it's kind of funny because I actually scrapped an entire album called Clarity.
Oh, really?
Probably 4 years ago.
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago. But so for me, I mean, those are just kind of each different contexts of how I want to use the word. The clear, being clear to past memories and mirrors is kind of more so about being able to stay human and stay grounded in things that you have felt. Because that song for me is kind of like a remembrance to feelings. You know, because I think that it's important to reflect on things that have moved us. And for me, that song's kind of to a lover, but it's also to myself. You know, it's kind of like, when will you know? Come back, please. And it's kind of like, I'm saying it to myself partially, but I'm also saying it, you know, still in slight jealousy of someone leaving my life, you know? So it's like, it's kind of both of those together.
Yeah.
And all of our, in the part about, you know, reflections of all our time so clear in that second verse is really just like, again, both of those stories, you know, both remembering when I was in a happy place myself, doing what I'm loving, and really identifying my individuality, but also remembering those times with somebody that are so special, that you also care about, that you also yearn to recreate when you don't have them. And in terms of the use of the clear and 35W, that's, you know, pretty much just a direct reference to the pipelines, and the usage and want for pipelines, and yeah, the line is, will it just all be oil and shit, like talking about our water.
So will that adjective apply to the water in the future, or will it just be oil and shit? Wow.
So I mean, clarity, it's just kind of a different usage of that idea there.
Why did you scrap the album? Was it to do with the songs, or did clarity seem less central?
It had to do with both the songs that were there, and also what I was making kind of after the project was done. It kind of got to the point where it was like, I was started to work on some of the early aYm Telos stuff, like way back, like Frounded, and Frounded was for sure the earliest one. That's actually the last song on the aYm Telos project, but that was probably the earliest song on the project that I started working on. And then it just got to a point where I was just like, I didn't really care for the songs. They didn't really move me in any way, and it wasn't my best work anymore. So
Clarity would have been an aYm Telos record. It was before.
This still would have been Tyler, back in the Tyler Nelson. Just self-named stuff.
It's interesting. The titles Clarity and Hues are quite different. Clarity, we think white light, clarity, like
pure.
It's pure. But then Hues is almost at the other end. We could imagine a spectrum. The sense of value seems to have shifted a bit. Clarity is we've just been talking about the importance of clarity, but that's almost as if that's one mindset. The mindset of clarity, of seeing clearly, is one of the mindsets that's celebrated, and various colors, various mindsets, various hues are being celebrated here. So, and from clarity to hues, and on the back of talking about, you were saying like the sadness of missing a particular like romantic partner. That comes true again in the 20th track, the very final track, which I think is called One All.
One All. One comma all.
Which is a really intriguing title. Would it hurt to just say hi? 'Cause my every next thought is tinted in your hue. So that's right at the end on the 20th song. We get it's almost like the title track. It's not called Hues, but Hues is referred to, and that's interesting. Your thoughts, despite this introspection and the effort to get to clarity. Every thought is tinted in your hue. Could you reflect a little bit on that? Seems
it's like a balance. Like I was kind of talking again about the balance and theme. I think hues are different hues that we see are surprising because they're different to us at whatever time.
Yeah.
So if we're in a place of happiness, I mean, the idea of hues actually, like the idea of hues before it became anything musical to me became present actually when I left an ex-girlfriend's house, and I still remember vividly leaving her house the night that we ended things, and I still just remember seeing like the whole world kind of tinted. Like the stoplight that I was driving through, like the green was like a turquoise, like kind of tinted blue, and the reds as well.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of became apparent to me that like I feel like part of me, whether it's something that I actually do see or not, is actually shaped by my feelings and by the attitude I'm carrying.
Yeah. And that having been impacted, as you were saying before, by your context, and in this case by the X, which is coming through in the lyric in One All as well. Are there any hues, or so going back to the colours that Annika selected to go with each of these EPs, are there any colours or hues that you associate with other people as opposed to primarily yourself? So is there like one of these EPs perhaps where you're kind of exploring territory, exploring colours and themes that are kind of outside of what was previously your comfort zone? And I ask that because, you know, the lyric is every thought is tinted in your hue. So the idea of like maybe your work being tinted in someone else's hue.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about that. I mean, I guess with the EPs that I have and the color palettes that I selected for each one was really just kind of an indication and an aesthetic match to the songs and how they sound and how they feel and how they come across. Yeah. Because I mean, the third EP's got the blue kind of basis because it's all feature tracks. They're all tracks that, you know, blue kind of like an ocean, kind of like we're in this together. Yeah. Like we like this is our.
There's a vastness,
it's
an immensity.
Yeah, it's a vast. I like that. Yeah. So it just felt right to kind of balance that color with that set of songs, and then the fourth one, the green hue, all produced by me, kind of indicates, you know, go. Like I can do this. I'm self-sufficient.
So red for Panic and Alarm.
Yep, Panic and Alarm. A little more commentary, a little more sharp edge. Yep. Blood, attack. Yeah. You know, a little more, you know, ferociousness to it. Yeah. But certainly still some, you know, little touches of green in the art as well for, you know, even to pull me. Yeah.
So you're saying on the first EP, even where the main hue is red, and that's to do with danger, perhaps. And perhaps that encompasses a lot of what we've been saying. Even there is still the hint of green that we get. That's the main hue for the end, and green means go, and green means yes, you've done the work. Now do the work. You've done the internal work. Now do the external work, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Put the record out and act, through and beyond the music. Do the right thing, which you know, like back to the song Default Shape. You know what the right thing is. Now do it. Why is Default Shape called Default Shape?
The line where I say default shape, I say numb to what's been taken from me. Yeah. Never to be given back in default shape. So it's kind of the idea of how we have a pure default shape before we interact any feelings and love and emotions. And as we like give and take things, we change that default shape. We either manipulate it and we give and we lose part of that, or we receive love and we gain part of something. But when all of those things change after time, our default shape is distorted. So it's kind of like it's a reference to just that purity that we once had before, you know, we got warped by...
We were thrown off balance.
Yeah, by whatever, you know. Whether it's something complete elation that's distorted or like complete depression that's distorted because you're so vividly in it. You know, like either one or anywhere in between. It's kind of like those are pulls from the default shape. Yeah. And for me, it's just like I try to keep myself grounded by the default shape as like a common denominator.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just a kind of like a check and balance on myself. Like, am I looking at this through the correct lens?
Yeah.
Just because I don't want to warp myself too high or too low. I'm very much so a steady living person. I try to be as genuine as I can be.
Yeah.
I try to live on one track. I try not to get too out of control, up or down.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's more beauty and more potential to develop a consistent personality.
Yeah.
If you're not getting so warped by life.
Yeah. Which again is the antithesis of the Poseidon image, and that seems more and more like the right. That's the antithesis of what we're aiming at. So we could, with the help of the color coding and focusing on some of the shift in the lyrical content, we could see the 20 songs as a journey, like a progress narrative from the state of danger and being thrown off balance, losing the default shape, to green means go, finding it again, or creating a new equilibrium and then going forward, and where it's a clear progress narrative. But I feel like what you were saying about the overlapping themes and that being reflected in the artwork with like there's red in the green and there's green in the red.
Yes.
There's a resistance to it being like a neat progress narrative too. Do you agree with that? And how significant is the resistance to telling a story where things are bad and then things get better by self-reflection? That's like that's there, but there are these components that work against that. And how important are the components that work against that?
Yeah, the components that work against the narrative being told like in a kind of just in a traditional mold, I feel like are kind of just the randomness of life.
Yeah.
The different little blotches that are always present when we don't expect them to be.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that it comes off, and part of me, I spent a lot of time putting the songs in the order they're in and the EPs in the order they're in.
Yeah.
And part of it to me is having an idea for what I want to do, and part of it is the beauty of other people receiving it in whatever way they do.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like to hear you say that is great, because it's it reiterates how I wanted it to come across in terms of a little more vulnerable in that first EP, a little more commentary on what's going on, a little more outside myself, to kind of honing it in, reflecting on past times. In the second EP. To moving into partnerships, community with friends. Being able to reflect and grow with these people. And then finally having the voice to do what I want to say myself. Phoenix from the Flames, like,
but you've been through the Ring of Fire, and now here you are with your completely self-produced final EP. That's really interesting. We've used the metaphors within the broader structural metaphor of journeying have come up. You were talking about the others in your loft and the people that you collaborate with on the EP3 as helping you refine your compass, use your compass, for example. And that was just one of a number of moments where we've used the language of journey and traveling to discuss what's going on. And that comes up in your bio too, like on the website. The bio it's nice and short. So, rooted in hip-hop and augmented by choral elements, what's left is a journey filled with rich harmonies, deep bass, and introspective lyricism. So, again, even in the bio, describing primarily the music, this idea of introspection being associated with journeying. We think introspection, we would normally associate it with like being still, not going anywhere. But even in that sentence, which is just describing the music, what's left is a journey filled with harmonies, deep bass, and introspective lyricism. Like the journey is filled with introspection. Like it's interesting, the combination of static and motion and not moving.
Yeah.
There. So, and you were saying specifically, you had the idea of there being 8 songs, and they would alternate between being solo and then collaborating with others.
Yes.
Which, like, that theme of like shifting between being alone and working with others, and the different types of growing and flourishing that come from each of those, that remains.
Yes.
But you had to get away from the final goal of like, this is like the form that I'm aiming at, to end up with a better form.
Yeah.
The 20 songs that. So. So can you reflect a little more on this idea of like the journey that doesn't have a pre-established destination? Because that's the recurring thing.
Yeah. So I guess the 8-song version of Hues was probably being formulated, I want to say, like, as I was moving into my loft, maybe May or June of last year. And I just had a couple of songs that I wanted to get one or two that I hadn't had the artist record yet, and it just got to the point, kind of like I said, where kind of a similar thing with Clarity, but not so much a full revamp and like a trashing of a project, but more so like a good morph.
A recalibration, like on the personal journey. You don't want to throw out these or like forget these memories. That you need to mold it to a whole, artfully. And the same with the music.
And so right around that time, last summer, when I was formulating the 8 songs for the Hues project, when it was 8 songs, I came into touch with Easy Keys beats. So I started writing some of those.
How did you come into touch?
SoundCloud.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good old SoundCloud.
Shout out to SoundCloud.
Which is where the 20 songs are being released as well. What's the SoundCloud? How do people find it?
SoundCloud.com/aYm.
aYm.
I'm actually going to be putting out this project just under the guy's aYm.
aYm.
With a capital Y.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to my brother Zach, too. Got me this cool book that says aYm on it.
And has a music
little clef note.
Too. Yeah.
So
aYm, not spelled like that.
Not spelled correctly, but yeah.
And the Y, I noticed that in a lot of the track titles, as like you gave me the track titles, often the Y is capitalized.
Yeah, I'm only capitalizing any Ys in names or producer names on the project. To kind of symbolize my change in my name for this project. Just capitalizing the Y, lowercase a and M.
Good thing the Easy Key has a Y in it.
Yeah. Easy Key has a Y. Some of the producers do. I mean, it wasn't like obviously it's not like any favoritism or anything. It's just if you have a Y or if there's a Y. Just because it's, for me, it's just a reiteration to focus on the questions. Focus on the Ys.
From the letter Y to the question why lose the telos?
Telos will always be the end. The telos means the ultimate end.
The teleological argument, for example, is...
it's a Greek word that means ultimate end or ultimate objective. So for me, telos will always be with me, and if people want to continue to call me aYm telos, if that's what I'm known as by them, I won't say you can't, but it's just an augmentation that feels comfortable for me right now. It's more attainable. It's easier for people to remember aYm with a Y. It's simple, it's clean cut.
And we were just talking about like the journey without a destination. So the ultimate end part of the name is apt for that to have gone. So we have the aYm still, but we don't quite know where we're going.
No, for sure. That's brilliant you point that out, because it makes
very
a lot of
fitting.
sense.
Cool.
And I like telos. It was just like, I just kind of want to shorten it down and kind of go in this direction for a bit. It just feels right. So
whatever this direction is.
Whatever it is. Whatever it is.
Cool. So, but you were saying about that was a seg that I kind of distracted you, because you were saying about when you first encountered Easy Key, and you were kind of developing a narrative about when you had the 8 songs and then you were kind of telling a story about, and you got to the point before I shifted the ultimate end. I took the ultimate end away and took us off on a detour, talking about telos. But can you remember where you were going?
Yeah. So I met Easy Key, wrote to some of his tracks, hit him up. He was definitely down to collaborate, compensated him for his work. And after that, it just kind of like, I had a couple tracks with, that track with Shrimp Nose, Finally.
Which is Default Shape.
No, there's another one, Finally number 10.
Oh, sure.
So Default Shape, was an older song that Riley and I made, way back, and then back when he was John Shrimp Nose. Now he's just Shrimp Nose. So he lost the John. Yeah, maybe he doesn't go to the bathroom.
Where do we go?
No more Johns for him. But
where do we go from? Suppose you cut the multiple syllables because he could become Shrimp or Nose.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go from aim.
Nowhere to go from aim. So I got the Easy Key stuff, and then I started, working on, getting some of these other beats, just finding other guys on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Some of these other great producers like LZY Gray.
Yeah. DJ Mellow. No.
Yeah, DJ Mellow J.
Mellow J. Yeah.
And then also like Bilo 503 and Coode. They produced a great song.
Let's Talk to Me.
Yeah, Quote's from the West Coast and Bilo 503's from Europe, so they collaborated on a beat. So I mean, there's all sorts of great guys that I met on SoundCloud, because it's such a brilliant resource. There's so many talented people in the cities, but there's such a big world out there, and that's kind of one thing I wanted to hone in, was get great production from here, with Shrimp. And my stuff produced on the last project. And I've worked with Fib and have some stuff from Blamsis as well that I plan on working with those guys as well. And, but I just kind of wanted to spend some time diverting into other people's production as well with this project. So finding these other guys, finding these other producers who are making stuff that's up my alley was really key. And that's kind of why I didn't feel so much worry about the destination of the Hues project after I got the Easy Key stuff, because I was just getting this production and writing all these songs. So it didn't dawn on me to continue to like make a new track list, because I don't know, like anyone who's like put together a project, like how it is when you're getting near the end, and it just, if you make any manipulations, you're so aware of it that after a while, after it's done, then you just know that that's where it's at. But for me, after that kind of final summation of the 8 songs, I didn't really look at the track list for a while. It was months and months and months that I just created, because I found comfort in the inspiration that I was having to make all these songs, and just in the space that I was in. So that's kind of how the diversion went from the shorter version of the project to having all these EPs. It was just a matter of having all this great production and having people into my studio recording some of these features, and also defining myself, like some of the stuff on my project I produced on Ableton. I got really big into Ableton last May. I made like 25 beats in a month and just kind of picked a few. Actually One All and Again, the last 2 songs, and What Now are all those are all actually produced.
The final 3 songs.
The final 3 are all produced in Logic, but Rasp, or whatever I'm gonna call that, and No Apology, those 2.
So all of the songs on the final EP, they're the ones that you're talking about at the moment.
The first 2 are produced by produced in Logic, or in Ableton, and the last 3 are produced in Logic.
So, and again, this like breadth of even how you're producing the songs fits with the celebration of different hues, and we've been talking about your thought or your music is tinted in the hue of Ableton or tinted in the hue of Logic, for example. But then also the combination of like there being some tracks that you do on your own, some where you're working with others and conceptually you're celebrating the local community, and then also you're reaching out beyond the local community, and there's this national or even I think international component, because you were saying there's already a remix of Mirrors, which is international.
Yep.
Yeah.
LZY Gray is actually from Bristol.
Oh, cool.
As well. So I mean,
Bristol's a very good music city.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
never
be.
been, but I want to go.
I'm gonna be in England throughout May, and I'm gonna take some of this equipment with me and do a second season of Back to the Cities of England, because I went
awesome.
to London and Oxford and Dorset before, and that's all on Mixcloud, and some of it will go on YouTube.
Sweet.
And I spoke with the daughter of Tony Visconti, who is the producer of Heroes, for example, but and many of the best, my favorite, generally considered to be the best Bowie records, including Black Star, the final one. His daughter, who performs with him in the band Holy Holy, which played Bowie's music with Glenn Gregory as the vocalist. I met up with her in London to talk about her original music and performing the Bowie. Basically, it's like the Man Who Sold the World record. The still surviving musicians who played on that record, playing that record, they never toured it at the time. So talking with her about that and playing that music, like being on tour, playing that music when Bowie died without anyone but Tony Visconti, who was in the band, knowing that Bowie was ill. So that's what happened last time I went to England. This time I'm going to go to Bristol, and I'm going to go to Manchester and Liverpool.
Awesome.
And see what's happening over there.
Heck yeah.
That'll be fun.
Well, yeah.
And maybe
up with LZY Gray.
Yeah, exactly. I will.
I forget the name. It's actually one of his really close producer friends that made the remix. So he got all the stems from LZY Gray, obviously, and then I sent him all my vocal stems, and within a few days he already sent me out a draft, and he's still going to be working on it over the next few weeks or month, and so
that will happen. So right now, this is April. You're watching this in April. Looking forward to May, when the tracks will start coming out week by week. In April, right now, I am in Bristol, talking about Hues, looking at it. And my current every thought, my Bristol current every thought about Hues is tinted in the hue of who am I talking with?
aYm.
But no, right now I'm talking with aYm, but in Bristol I'll be talking with
LZY Gray.
So my every thought about Hues will be tinted in the hue of LZY Gray.
Hey.
Yeah. Grey. The grey hue.
Yeah. No, for sure. Damn. That's real.
So we were talking about the journey metaphor, and alongside that, a more specific version of that is the idea of a journey through a book. We were talking about narrative. We were talking about the extent to which the record presents a narrative, and I think that is like the aYm philosophy, but then it's presented in this. There's an intentional lack of clarity, or there's an intentional resistance to that very narrative as well. So we've got narrative and we've got journey, and then we have the idea of journeying through a book coming up at multiple times in the lyrics in the record. So it comes up, for example, in the opening track of the fourth EP, No Apology. And there, did you consult Cleopatra? It's interesting that Cleopatra, it's Cleopatra gets a name, a shout out in the opening track of the final one, as opposed to Poseidon in the opening track of the first. Did you consult Cleopatra? She's referred to as the type of gal to finish out the chapter.
Yeah. She's the last.
And then it relates to, which you find impressive for someone who's lost, like I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit, trying to calibrate the soul,
the person I'm trying to be,
the sort of person
trying to
I want to be, and then that's where we have the reference to symmetry. So Cleopatra shows up as an exemplar someone who finishes the chapter, someone who has symmetry, someone who can calibrate to be the sort of person that she wants to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to Poseidon, which is the opposite.
Yeah.
What is this? Why is Cleopatra the sort of gal who finishes the chapter? And what's it mean to finish the chapter?
She was the last of the, if I remember correctly, the last of the emperors.
Yeah, right. Ultimate end.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So it was just kind of it was a reference to me, just to kind of. I was in a very, reference-ridden part of my writing at that time, and that's kind of where I've been trying to go with some of my raps lately.
Yeah, you want to be reference-ridden.
Yeah.
Ridden with references.
Yeah, because I say, I say, Leo, did you consult Cleopatra? Because I reference some, I say The Departed, and then in my mind I thought about the movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I call on Leo.
Oh, okay,
Did
cool.
you consult Cleopatra? I heard that she's the type of gal to finish out the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's impressive, at least for me, when I'm lost trying to calibrate the person I'm trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
Symmetry ain't only found in butterflies, but bumblebees when setting up the nest and taking care of all offspring. So kind of like, again, just pulling that idea of symmetry and how it's not only found in, the things that have symmetry, like physically, but also symmetry just in like terms of peace of mind, symmetry in terms of a healthy household, symmetry in terms of just raising people and cultivating people with good friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
All of those different, types of symmetry that are, I referenced the butterfly. Yeah. But I referenced a butterfly, which, has perfect symmetry, and so not only butterflies but bumblebees, who also are, being pushed out of the world. Yeah. And, trying to find their place as well. You know? So I mean, it's just that's what that kind of reference is, and it's again just kind of an homage to Cleopatra for being the end and being the last. And how much that's appreciated when it's done. Yeah.
So there is this, even as you get rid of Telos and Ultimate End, there's a kind of celebration of the ultimate end as well. Speaking of symmetry, there's our bespectacled symmetry with our identical cups of Bengali spiced tea.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. And our almost parallel line microphones. Symmetry is important.
Absolutely, man.
So, let's see. You referred to The Departed, and you were saying about the being ridden with references. It's not the only movie you referred to. There's also Five All Goes West, and The Cactus. That's like the evil. Is it the cats? I haven't seen Five All Goes West recently.
Oh, okay. So Fievel's out.
Which song is this again?
It's Looking In with Spencer Jones.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember if it's. It's Fievel is out in the desert, and he's like completely dehydrated and lost and ridden of resources and in his body, and he's like stumbling through, and he sees this cactus, and to him it looks like his family walking towards him.
Oh, it's like a mirage.
Fievel,
yeah.
Fievel, and he's like, what? And he like continues to like wobble towards him, and then he just gets close enough to hug, and then he hugs it, and it's a cactus. So the line in that song, the cactus and Five Goes West, it's the people in this life who jest. So it's just that idea of like, we can be stung by people when they look like they could be our best friend.
Yeah, the Poseidon, everything we were talking about with the opening track in My Dreams. Yep. Like the dream that's a nightmare.
Yep. And how some people embody kind of hidden traits that come out to bite you kind of when you don't expect them. The
cactus spikes, invisible cactus spikes. Poor Fievel.
Yeah, Fievel. Fievel, man, that's a classic.
That is.
Go watch Fievel Goes West. Great American Tale.
I have to watch it again now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like your impression too. Fievel. I can even kind of remember.
You remember it now?
Good. Yeah. Good impersonation. Good Fievel Goes West impersonation.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
Fievel's entire family
Yeah.
in one aim.
I was actually practicing that before this interview. I was hoping
You had to get your
make me
Fievel
get
in.
the Fievel reference.
So that's in the song "Looking In," which
Yep.
and I don't know your worries from the outside looking in. So we might be looking in. We might be looking not at the cactus, but at the family member, and we can't relate.
And vice versa. I say you don't know my worries from the outside looking in,
Yeah.
and I don't know your worries. So it goes both ways, you know.
Yeah. This idea of the external and the internal, and looking in, and the difficulty or impossibility of seeing what's inside, and hence the need for the person to be alone to work on it on their own, to then be back in the scene world. But this idea of looking in comes up also in Awoke in a way that I would like to relate to, again, Annika's 10 by 10 inch canvases. Because in Awoke, we're just feeling the frame of the painting out.
Patience is key.
Patience is key. So, what's it mean to be feeling the frame of the painting out? I kind of, for some reason, related that to this like internal, external thing, the frame of a painting. So here we have, there's a painting. Just out of shot, you might be able to see just the bottom of this painting, or then there's a frame. This one's in shot. So what does it mean to feel the frame out?
Feeling the frame out is like, it's getting to know the boundaries of what you're working in. Because I mean, it's like, you could have a canvas that's, very small and very limited in terms of its space.
Yeah, like Annika's.
Or you got something that's immense and you have, all the world to kind of just do whatever with.
Yeah.
And
makes me think of the blue hue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of is a symbol of, feeling out wherever you're at in life for me. Like feeling the frame of the painting out. And for me, like, that was getting to know my patience level, getting to know my tolerance levels, just for life in general, for people, for myself, for my interests, for what I indulge in.
You might think there's something wrong when there's not, is the lyric. So in this effort to recalibrate, getting a heightened sense of, okay, red is danger. In how much danger am I? Am I really in as much danger and the type of danger that I thought I was in?
Yeah.
There's something wrong. There is something wrong.
Exactly.
There is something wrong at the moment.
Yep.
But patience is key to working within that context.
Yeah. Giving yourself some time to not get, enveloped inside something, but rather, feel it out, feel out the frame. And kind of remind yourself, just to stay grounded in reality with whatever aspects you need, whether that's like a good conversation with somebody or like a stone you hold in your hand or whatever you have to kind of keep you grounded.
Yeah, or your symmetrical room that you need to retreat to.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the international connection that you need to make, or whatever it is, anywhere along that spectrum.
Whatever it is that you need, it's important to feel that out for yourself.
Yeah.
And it's important to not get, just completely thrown off by your own ego or your own ideology as well. It's important to keep those things in check so that you're not getting distorted when you're making these actions forward.
So in this process, this like existential journey with perhaps not an ultimate end, or certainly without clarity about what the ultimate end is, patience is key, but tolerance is almost as key as patience. That's also a quote from Talk to Me. If not more, depending if you read or skipped chapter 4. That's all lyrics. Are we thinking of a book again? A journey through a book. Is this a specific book?
It's not a specific book. It's just kind of in reference to reading. In reference to not just skimming past everything, but
impatiently skimming.
Yeah. So it's
Is it bad to skip chapter 4?
Depends on the book, but I mean No, I mean it's just a. I picked 4 because of the rhyme scheme, but I mean in terms of it being legitimized as a lyric, I think that it does come across just in terms of having patience with reading something. If you really want to dig into something, give it your full 100%.
Yeah.
And don't just half-assed read it if you're really trying to get something from it.
That's really interesting. So we're no longer thinking of like the end point, but we are thoroughly immersed in every moment in the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get to something like the metaphorical final chapter, Cleopatra, who we're impressed by,
mm-hmm.
if you want to get to the end point, you can't skip anything.
Mm-hmm.
You have to relate everything in every new chapter to what's happened before. And there's this effort to get a clear reflection in mirrors, for example,
mm-hmm.
of the events in the past,
mm-hmm.
the earlier events in the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really interesting. Like, we get rid of the telos, get rid of the ultimate aim, but that's so as to focus more on the present. And when we'll get there, we'll get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And by virtue of not having been distracted by it in the meantime, it will be a much better story.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really well put. I mean, that's, I guess that's exactly what I've been trying to do right there. Yeah.
Both in life and with the record. Like,
yeah.
The Hues is a richer record, and the life is a richer life by virtue of like focusing on each moment
mm-hmm.
in relation to the other moments,
mm-hmm.
and not always only in relation to the final moment.
Absolutely, man. Oh, that's really well put. I mean, I think that's.
Well, you put it. I'm just like paraphrasing it.
No, I mean, I like how you say it though, because it's it's something that means a lot to me to hear, because it's one thing to try to ideate all this, and it's another thing to have it come across.
Yeah. Oh, it's just the accent, really. I've got it's the cat. Watch out for the cactus spikes. Joking. No, I'm not a cactus. So let's get a few more references in, because it's ridden with references, before we draw to a close. And some of the best ones we haven't focused on yet. So obviously Fievel is, I think that's my favourite. But the second track is called Jesse Pinkman, and that's like infused in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
There's Better Call Saul, shout out, and right at the end, Walter told me, dude knows what he do, better yet, he showed me.
Yeah.
So, what is the significance of these Breaking Bad references? And in particular, that's right near or even at the end of the song, the idea of Walter showing, better yet, showing us something. So, what's going on there?
Yeah, it's it's another, it's kind of a character that I put on for the song, and I didn't really know I was gonna call it Jesse Pinkman until the end, where I just wrote those lines. And
you have a slight resemblance to Jesse Pinkman.
Right. I'll take that. He's a stud.
Funny.
But the chorus for that, traction ain't no reward if your eyes blinded from the truth given into war. So for me it's kind of like the verses are my version of thinking like how Jesse Pinkman did during the show, and then the chorus is like an omniscient like view of like the whole thing happening.
Interesting.
Like
from
like,
the end,
like the omniscient view is noticing that like traction ain't no reward if your eyes blinded from the truth. So like if you've seen Breaking Bad, it's the best show that's ever been made, in my opinion.
It's definitely up there. Yeah.
So I mean, I just think the storyline and the way that it's written is so incredible, and it was really moving for me. So for me, it was just partly an homage to the show, but also just I realized how much pull it actually had in making sense in terms of just this idea of kind of a little bit of fallacy, a little bit of having to disguise a little bit of a facade in terms of getting somewhere, in terms of like the relationships in the show, how they kind of manipulate who they are as people to kind of gain traction. Yeah. But then it all comes down to just craziness and
losing oneself.
Yeah.
And again, this the Poseidon thing with you think that you might be able to get a short-term reward by doing this kind of impersonation or presenting oneself in a certain way, but the loss is greater. It's not worth it. And we're back to thinking again, interestingly, about this contrast between the thought in the moment, which on the whole is valued. We were just saying that's what's valued as opposed to relating everything to the end. But then in this song, you have like the omniscient perspective where like the moral of the story, if you watch all the way through to the end of Breaking Bad, you know, so it's without spoilers, like the ultimate end, like the end of the final season, you know, we can look back on everything and in light of that, and it makes sense that works its way into the song, given the nature of Breaking Bad. Yeah. So,
and there's even some like little, you know, political reference in that song as well. You know, bigots being repped by the reps give shit, so no, I could give less.
Yeah.
But the potions they be spreading in the ocean only add into the notion of a revolution.
Yeah.
You know, so there's definitely some like little bits of sentiments of how I feel as well, kind of built into the song and kind of the character that I take on and naming it Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You look alike. Like the Wind is a favorite track of mine.
Sweet.
Maybe my favorite one. And it seems so we're just going to dip into a couple of important moments in that song. One of them, I think, has the most interesting juxtaposition of references. So this is referring to the title. I feel like the wind, but not just like the wind, but like the wind mixed with Chomsky and Sagan. So Noam Chomsky and Carl Sagan, who we hear talking about the nature of the cosmos.
Yeah, Sagan in the background.
Yeah. Philosophizing about
how the book begins.
About how the book begins. So again, this image of the beginning of a book.
Yeah.
We're thinking about skipping chapters, the final chapter, and then how the book begins.
And where it ends.
And where it ends. Who and how does that continue?
Who knows with these folks playing with egos like the ghosts in Mario.
Yeah, so that begins with Chomsky and Sagan, you know, very high, very cerebral.
Yeah.
To I enjoy the ghosts in that. I enjoy both of them. Like the sentence begins with Chomsky and Sagan, and it ends with the ghosts in Mario. And I love Chomsky, Sagan, and the ghosts in Mario. Why the ghosts in Mario? That's like the kind of simpler question, and probably the more in-depth one is why Chomsky and Sagan, and especially why Chomsky and Sagan mixed with the wind.
So for me, it was like that writing that lyric. I feel like the wind was just, you know, to perpetuate that continuous cycle of just being on the go.
Yeah.
You know, continuing to move,
Green hue.
Continuing to feel out things. Yeah, green hue. And Noam Chomsky's been I've read a lot of his work, and also Sagan. You know, Sagan was an easy one to plug just because it's his voice in the easy key sample track.
Already, yeah.
But I mean, it just made sense to have, you know, kind of just an homage to people who've impacted me, and to games that have impacted me.
Yeah.
And to references that I think will stick with people because it's, you know, it's real life. It's one thing I'm enjoying about what I'm writing. One thing I'm enjoying about my writing more lately than I did 5 years ago, 3 years ago, is that it's less like indulged in myself. It's more, a little more external, a little more outside of me. I still relate things to myself, but it's more so like built with commentary and reference to outside.
There are particular EPs and particular songs which are more self-referential, but that's contextualized.
Yeah.
It's given its weight. There's less weight than in previous MPLS project.
Yeah, and I mean, you'll feel more of that personal hue and vibe through the second EP, and you'll feel more of the, you know, the communal, you know, vibe in the third one, and that's just kind of how I wanted it to come across. who knows with these folks playing with egos like the ghosts in Mario. Yeah, that's just kind of in reference to the the fuckery with just how people are, just how people want to come across and to challenge you in a way, or just push themselves in a weird way outside of themselves, expressing their ego in a way that's just just not pure. And it just kind of reminded me of just like
the transience,
the daunting like feeling of coming around the ghosts in Mario.
Yeah.
Just like the kind of things that you want to avoid.
Yeah.
You don't want to be around them. You don't want to be around people who are super egotistical and are
as opposed to Super Mario.
yeah.
Is that the haunted house? I'm thinking I've got the in my mind at the moment. I feel that's the soundtrack to. I associate that with ghosts.
The booze, the big white like puffy guys.
Yeah.
There's the small ones and the big ones, and when you turn away from them, they come towards you, and when you look at them, they stop.
Ah,
so
okay. So that's the specific. That's the attribute of the ghosts in Mario that you're thinking of.
Yeah, and it kind of mean it like in a direct relationship to people, and how when you face them, they won't say something to you. They won't engage with you, but when your back's turned, they'll have everything to say about you, and they'll have everything, and it's just like that weird, like why do you have to act that way?
Yeah.
Why do you continue to say what's never on your mind until you walk away?
Yep.
So I mean, it's just like
the opening line again. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of the reference in that song is the ghosts in Mario, and just kind of how it's a lot easier for people to talk about you when your back's turned, I guess. You know, for whatever reason, rather than just, if they have something to say to you, just, saying it to the face, saying it just one-on-one, being human about it, rather than feeling like you need to fester in like drama or whatever to get off in life, because that's kind of how you're wired. But like that's kind of how some people have been created and have been fostered so far. So I mean, I just try to continue to embody as much positive and good traits as I can to override that if I can.
And helping them by holding a mirror up to them and saying, look, if you look in this mirror, you are a boo or a cactus. Who wants to be a boo or a cactus or a Poseidon? Like if they get the and Poseidon is related to the sea. So
Poseidon is the. I think it was like the evil god of the sea, or the evil. Yeah, I should brush up on those. I will brush up on those. But I mean, it's at the time when I wrote the lyric, I looked it up, and it I make sure things make sense. But sometimes they drift or just kind of alter in meaning to mean something more real in life to me outside of the reference. Yeah. So, but in terms of that one, it's just that was what it was with the Poseidon reference.
And it's interesting, the variety of references, and there's different things that different people can latch onto. So you were saying about wanting to move away from it being kind of more purely personal. So my excitement about, Sagan, Chomsky, Ghosts in Mario, Fievel, these are Jesse Pinkman, these are all things that I kind of can relate to, and that's intentional. These are like cultural references, and then also the negative images of the cactus and the ghost and Poseidon, like different people who might have been. I like how you just said that if we're lucky enough to find ourselves like in a nice setting, in the loft or wherever it is, and then becoming who we are as a result of that in that context, we're lucky. Someone else might be becoming who they are, becoming the Jesse Pinkman, becoming this like the character who I get the idea of like treading in shit. Is that what's happening in the opening track that then goes up to the head? Or
yep.
So someone else might have that happening to them, and they're not wholly to blame. They're not choosing that. So it's interesting, like trying to remain positive and like show an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like a ghost or a cactus,
Yeah.
that's not the only way.
No, yeah, and it's certainly not to say that people don't face much tougher hardships in their life than I do. You know, but I mean, it's just like it's hopefully a reminder and some sort of potentially some sort of medicine to help them just ideate how to get out of that or just kind of think through it.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly not trying to like impose any of my ideology on people. I just want to present what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, and like I say, if people fuck with it, you're probably doing something right. If people chuck the shit, you're probably on some divisiveness.
Yeah.
That's on One Way, the track I just, or track I dropped in February.
Mm-hmm. So going back not to the beginning of the chapter, but to the beginning of the song, Like the Wind, that's where we have Sagan discussing the cosmos, which is the adjectives exquisite. That's among the adjectives.
His words are ridiculous. Yeah.
Are exquisite, and
they are.
His word exquisite is exquisite, and let's see, exquisite in its relations, I think, is what's said, and the awesome machinery of entropy of nature.
Yeah.
So, that was already in the easy key beat.
Yep, that was already in the easy key beat.
As is in All I Need, the Peanuts, something to the effect of, I think there's something wrong with me, Miles.
Yeah, yep.
So
I think there's something wrong with me. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, but
intro.
But in each case, you use that in a very specific way. So, what is the significance either of that particular Peanuts, speaking of local, like St. Paul Peanuts sample, or the very specific characterization of the cosmos, courtesy of Carl Sagan, who gets the shout out in the song?
What was it?
What do those samples mean for you?
Oh.
And what do you do with them, using them as a starting point?
I guess the easy key track with Nick Jordan, that one was just I guess I heard the Peanuts reference, but it didn't really it didn't shape a whole lot of the writing to that. It was more so kind of like
it's also the Peanuts music.
And the music. I guess I didn't try to get too shaped by that. I tried to just continue on the vein I was feeling with the rest of the percussion that Easy Key built around.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the Like the Wind song, I think that really comes through in the beginning of that second verse, like you had said. I feel like the wind.
Yeah.
Just kind of those
at one with nature.
Yeah, at one with nature, but also moving with hopefully some sort of positive ideology and good inspiration of people's words to take with me.
Yeah.
So that's why I say mixed with Chomsky and Sagan, I'm just sitting along with them, on this ride through time and the wind.
In exquisite relation to them.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yep.
Because that's what he's highlighting about the beautiful complexity of the cosmos. Perhaps. The relationality and how much you could miss the beauty of it if you're just thinking about yourself and not thinking about how everything, the interplay of everything.
Yeah.
So there's so much interplay of everything, the celebration of all the different hues, the referencing of Mario and Chomsky and Sagan all in one verse. And then so that's the second verse, and the first verse, let's kind of close with this, because I think that Like the Wind is it's almost another kind of mission statement song, I think. And that's, so when you come in, Carl Sagan is your hype man.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a good hype man.
Yeah. The cosmos is full beyond measure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he says to start. And then, the cosmos is full beyond measure of elegant truths and exquisite interrelationships of the awesome machinery of nature, or something like that. Or maybe I just blended two parts, but his words certainly influenced a nice tone for that song.
And then you come in, and this is where you're thinking about equilibrium. I swear I had it.
Before my huge smile turned in a pool of sadness.
Yeah. And then there's the political reference, call me crazy, but I take nothing over a wall.
Yeah, call me crazy, but I'll take nothing over a wall. Which is kind of like two meanings, like I can jump over a whole wall, or I'll take nothing instead of a wall. You know what I mean? Like I'll take, like call me crazy, but I'll take nothing over a wall. Like I'll just somehow jump over
You'll
the
jump over
wall,
the obstacle.
or like I will take nothing instead of a wall.
Yeah, instead of, we get the reference. Yeah. But also the wall, just the vision in general, which is related to Senior Trump in the opening track.
Correct.
And then gift well when sifting through the wishing well. That nicely echoes, I think, the song Gift, which is an earlier, the song Gift? And finally, we were talking about, I think there was a reference to a vehicle at some point. Anyway, in the video, do you remember earlier in our conversation, I think there was some reference to vehicles, which made me think of the video for Gift. There's also the song with Tony the Scribe, 35W, where we're imagining people in their isolated cars not relating. And of course, there's a broader political significance to the song, as one would expect, 35W. But when you were talking about relationships in relation to Awoke and One All, that made me think in turn of the video The Gift, which also has the metaphor of, there's a symbolic significance at least to the journey in the car. Can you describe that video and the significance of the word gift to you, especially through the lens of gift well when sifting through the wishing well?
For me, just the idea of when you stay present in someone's life, when you stay present in someone's life, the way they feel about you is that you're a present to them.
A present to them, like a gift.
A gift.
Yeah.
A gift. So for me, like, the song Gift was essentially my take on a lot of things that were going on at that time in my relationship, and it was kind of my summation of how I could gift these feelings into a song. And then in terms of the gift well when sifting through the wishing well with like the wind, it's just kind of like, you pick your battles wisely, pick and choose, like, or pick your battles with no battles, like don't pick any battles. Yeah. Because it's like, sift well, or it's just like it's a reference to just make sure that we are, conscientious of what we're gifting to people, whether that's actually a gift or just how we're presenting our body language to someone, or nonverbal, or how we look at someone when we're next to them in a line. Yeah. Just all those little gifts that we give, I think we could be more conscientious of the avenue at which we give those, because it's really key, and it can make someone's whole day, and it doesn't even need to be any words. It could just be a smile, or holding a door for somebody, or so that's really all that line is. And I guess there's not a ton of play with the previous use of gift in the previous song or the video. It's just kind of a coincidence of words, and I guess for me, gift has kind of maybe warped a little bit, even in its meaning from that time to now. Just
the song gift has. Because that's also, there's a similar focus though on the presence, given the presence and feeling the absence of a person, and the way in which that video is shot. And there's you at night in the car, and then it kind of, it's who made that video? It's great.
My brother, my brother Zach, and
so
then Lizzie Harper was in that as well.
Will he make any videos for this project, or will you?
Hopefully.
Make videos?
Yeah, he's actually been immersed in his company called Moto Crane. It's a camera mount for a car. So I have some ideas that.
Okay, hence that's why it was obvious to use the car in the video.
Yeah, except that was just a mount that he bought, and it was just a spinning mount that he got. That's not his product. His product is like a camera mount that you put on top of a car. And control it on the inside with an iPad. And check it out. It's crazy. He's just launched like pre-sales and everything, and yeah, it's
And that might become integrated maybe into a video
hopefully
for 35W.
yeah, that's
Would work well.
that's actually the song I'm hoping to work with him
Yeah.
on. So,
Well,
but
that's the
I know
obvious
he's incredibly busy, so I mean, it's just a matter of finding the right time. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure he would love to have some sort of, you know, artistic outlet to use the crane with as well.
Yeah. Well, watch this space for a potential collaboration between the Nelson brothers and Tony the Scribe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 35W.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the song that naturally comes to mind, and that's kind of how I pitched it to Tony as well. You know, to kind of visualize these types of things, because it'd be cool to do something with that.
Yeah.
So,
well, we've been drawing to a close with a focus on gifts and presenting presents and being conscientious about what we're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for very evidently being extremely conscientious about what you're putting out, the presents, the gifts that you're going to be giving us on a weekly basis.
Absolutely,
from the beginning of May right through until late August or maybe even early September. Yeah. Being a present and we'll be receiving your presence and enjoying your presence in our lives for those months. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And thank you for being here in advance throughout those many months. We will have monthly opportunities to see Tyler in action.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah,
at venues
still
to
booking
TBD.
Shows, yeah.
But there will be a monthly to coincide with. Will it be the completion of each EP? Because every 5 weeks we'll have a new EP.
I don't know if it'll be like perfectly scheduled to have each show at the end of each EP, but certainly near the latter of each month is kind of my goal to have some stuff. So
4 EPs, 20 songs, 4 not record releases, but 4 celebrations, live celebrations.
Yep. And then there will probably be a complete all 20 songs on one disc. I'll probably do that near the end or something with a full. Yeah, because all 20 songs are actually only 55 minutes. It's a shorter project, so it's a little more quick, a little more ADHD, a little more just getting my feelings out. And then on to the next thing. So
yeah, absolutely, on to the next thing, whatever the final chapter or next chapter might be.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So
thanks for having me, Simon.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the shows.
Heck yeah.
So thanks very much. This is aYm. Just aYm.
aYm with a question. aYm with a Y.
aYm with a question?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. aYm with a Y and a Y. Excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on a weekly basis, 20 songs. We hope you enjoy them, and you've obviously had a sneak pre-listen to many of those 20 songs behind our voices. So
sweet.
Yeah, check out the full songs on SoundCloud.
Yep. SoundCloud.com/aYm. aYm.
Check it out. This has been Back to the City. I'm Simon Calder. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Right now, or maybe your rift is needed to realign where we grow, or maybe your shift is pending and I've got to cherish now, or maybe we're too depleted and due to succumb to the frowns. I'd like to think the latter's untrue, but I've fallen far too many times and still think of you.
Waiting for you.